Hello. So, it's been a while since we've done any sort of property-related videos. They've all been about our home renovation because we've spent this last year moving and renovating, as you know. And the property side of things we're still doing, but haven't been actively promoting, let's say. And we obviously would like to continue that on this channel because that's 100% helping us with our bread and butter. And I think we need to go back to some basics, really. Talk about location, which we talk about all the time, but I still want to explain why. We'll talk a little bit about kind of where you need to be looking at based on your budget and requirements. And this is all information that I chat to people about when they email us or send us questions. But I thought, let's make a clearer video. Let's look at a map. Let's really establish what areas we cover, and what you'll find in those areas, and let's really kind of lay it all out. And I want to start a little series of exploring videos, if you like, exploring the Veliko Tarnovo region, which is what we know about, what we talk about, and I actually physically driving out into the areas, showing you the scenery, the landscapes, the types of villages, the types of properties. So today will be a general overview, and then we'll follow up with individual, more location-specific videos on the road. But they're not going to happen quickly because it will very much depend upon our timing and when we get out there and do stuff. And we've got a few things to do on the car before we take it on some long journeys. But it will, trust me, it will happen and they will come. So I hope you find this really useful. Please feel free to comment with questions, email us. We've got a WhatsApp number on our website page. We've still got the old buyer's guide link off our website. It's a free guide to just points to look out for when you're looking at rural properties. It's not a buyer's guide, a how-to, any of the information about estate agency. This is our sort of original how-to Lee's mind, if you like, from a building perspective, what to look out for, specific to rural Bulgarian properties. And the other thing I want to say is, please understand, this is generic information. There's maybe a few sweeping statements in there, and of course there's always anomalies, exceptions to the rules. It could be that you could find a house, a little gem that's in your budget, that's in an area that we would normally say would be more money. There's always going to be exceptions to the rule, but as a general guide, I think this is going to be really useful for people that are interested in looking at the region of Veliko Tarnovo. Okay, so I shall now move on to the map. Okay, so here is a kind of snapshot of the area around Veliko Tarnovo, the city, which I'm going to highlight here. Now, we can go a lot further north, and we'll show you some of that as well. But this is kind of a rough guide to, I would personally say, more of the pricier areas, because obviously you're closer to the city. But you've also got quite a difference in price as well from a north-south perspective of the city. And then obviously then down to the physical house, the level of condition. So there's always going to be like a ceiling price. I would say if you have an ultimate brand new renovated property with a pool, potentially that will be one value if it was north of the city and another value if it was south. And the reasons why there is a sort of a difference in the pricing there. It's really obviously down to location. We harp on about location so very much. It doesn't mean that there's bad locations. It just means that there are some that are maybe a little bit prettier, I would personally say. So this is a general rule. Anything kind of south east, let's say, all the way around here, all this area, but the further down is you're looking at the lower end of the Elena Balkans. So you've got lots of villages close to the town of Elena, and you will find that these areas, particularly this lower half, sort of here, very, very still hilly, pine tree views, forestry, so stunning locations. Then you've probably got, if you like, even more hilly
is coming around this side of Viti into Gabrovo. Now you're looking at a different region here, the region of Gabrovo, but it's still very close in distance to the city of Veliko Tarnovo. So there's some, you've got another major town here, Drinovo. So all of the villages in this area are really lovely. This area in particular, you'll find lots of guest houses. There's all of these lovely villages here, and obviously there's so many more when you zoom into the map. These areas I'd say are quite pricey. Small villages, but potentially less in terms of amenities, not many shops. A lot of these villages are within the hills, stunning view, vistas. I would say pricier houses because people are really spending the money and working on them. So there's been quite a few English that have come in there and renovated houses. Also the Bulgarians that have houses in these areas, either for holiday homes. And this also applies to the Elena region, specifically the villages around here, the reservoir of Yakovtsi. These villages are very much full to the brim of guest houses and holiday homes. It doesn't mean with any of these places that you can't live full time all year round. You just have to factor in snowfall, access. They are very good at clearing all the roads here, depending on where you are in the village and the road that leads up to your property. If you're not on an asphalt road, it won't be likely to be ploughed. But winter access may be slightly harder, but people still live in these places all year round. So you're paying for, I would say, location. In terms of property prices are generally higher, and therefore you're investing in a good area for that reason. You're investing in areas that potentially will always be holiday homes for Bulgarians. So you've got that investment opportunity there if you ever wanted to run your own business or anything like that. And then you've got some sort of villages around here. I'm going to kind of probably go like this, a little bit more kind of commuter belt, if you like. Lots of young families, people being able to get the bus into VT, and the same would then happen. I'm going to just sort of do a slight circle round here. All of these kind of places are really easy access to the city. Now this circle here, again, you're looking at pricey properties here. And this now looks like a complete spaghetti junction, doesn't it? But I hope you're following. But the prices of all these properties in the areas I've circled are going to be a lot higher than the ones outside of the areas circled.
Okay, so what I was trying to capture there in my spaghetti junction of yellow lines was, if you like, probably the pricier areas of the region. And I'm going to give you a rough guide to, if you like, 3 levels of category of property. You've got renovation project, which is always the types of properties that Lee and I end up with, because that's what we can afford. Needs new roof, hasn't been lived in 50 years, proper renovation projects. In those yellow circled areas, you're going to be looking at, again, dependent on the plot size and the size of the house as well, there's still factors. You're probably looking at 20 grand plus, maybe even more. But then you're going to move into your, what I would say were livable properties, meaning people have lived in them. There might be a really old bathroom, there might be a soakaway in there somewhere, there could be a roof that just needs the odd tile replaced but doesn't need the whole thing done, the windows could be all right, you might have a million beds and piles of old duvets in there, but it's livable. It needs clearing out and it needs modernising, but it's still livable. So I would say that kind of level of property, you might be looking at 35, 40, 50k plus, again depending on village specific location. And then you're looking at your renovated, brand spanking new, and that's when you're looking at your 100 plus, 200 plus even, again depending on village specific, whether you've got a pool, whether you've got a brand new roof, whether you've got brand new double glazing, whatever the conditions are, obviously the size. They're kind of your categories, I would say, in the yellow area. Yes, you might find the odd gem that's still 10 grand. But you're going to be aware you're going to be doing a lot of work on that property, or it's tiny. So please remember that Lee and I have absolutely nothing to do with property valuation. That is all done by our trusted partner of Ideal Homes. And it's down to that seller. we work we work with English, Bulgarian sellers, other nationality sellers, and they are the ones that dictate this. No matter after how much guidance on valuations, the sellers dictate the prices here. And please understand that. What Lee does input into the process is very good at property tours, are very good at understanding, level of works required, advice on what you can do from a building perspective. He can do floor plans, space plans for you, work things out. So that's his element into the advice. So we very much want to be able to be sharing information, advising people, helping you find the right place, and being very honest about what you can get for your money, or where your money needs to be, therefore, to get in that area, for example. Okay, we're going to now go back to the map and look at the north part of the region.
Okay, I'm going to get my trusty felt tip. Let's go for red this time. So we've got the city down here now. Okay, so we're sort of coming north, and then you've got some big, I would say, towns, amenity areas that are sort of secondary to the city. You then would come out and find large centres such as Pavlikeni, Polski Trambesz, and Suchindol is quite a large town. And then you've got the sort of surrounding villages on the way to these places from the city, and then of course further north. Now you'll see there's lots of also agents and property YouTubers living in other areas, and that's in the Targovishta area as well. You've got places like Popovo, Palamatsa. These are all areas that have lots of expat communities, and my understanding is that the Targovishta region is cheaper than the Veliko Tarnovo region. Again, I guess it's just location about access to the old capital. So these highlighted sort of red areas are really good, especially if you want to be rural. You can't afford to perhaps be as close to the city, but you want to have access to doctors, hospitals, hardware stores without having to drive all the way into the main city. You've got a sort of a wealth of amenities in these large towns, and you've also got great public transport, bus systems. Pavlikeni's on the train route as well, so you've got really good access. And further north as well, I would say Lee might know better. I don't know anywhere north of this line. Okay, so I think anywhere north of this line, you're heading up into Svizhtov, and I know lots of people live in Oresh. I believe north of this line is a lot cheaper, heading towards the Danube River. Again, don't know anything really about this area. I don't know any negatives or positives, so our agent may very well do. So please ask us if you're looking for properties in any of these areas. Feel free to reach out and we can find out for you. So in these regions, you've got villages. See that this map, when you zoom in, you're going to see a lot more villages, for example, all the way on this route, villages between these, there's lots more when you go in and you sort of zoom in. So there's lots more. It's impossible to know every single village. And I would say with this area of the region, sorry, I just thought I was going to sneeze. You're looking at probably the land is slightly flatter, less forestry, although there's some stunning areas. I'm not saying there's no forest at all. There's the areas around here. This is the Alexander Stambolovsky Dam. I think I've probably said that wrong, but I've only been there once, and it's gorgeous area. Pine trees, the dam. It's just beautiful. And you will find that there's still stunning nature and areas in here, but you might find some of these villages have, I would say, flatter land. Really great for homesteading. You get a lot more for your money further up north. So you're going to get larger plots. Again, general rule, larger plots, and probably larger properties as well. I would say the properties you'll find in this area are more from a Bulgarian architecture, your typical rural farmhouse property, whereas properties that are south of the city tend to be more Bulgarian architecture, like revival period. And so there's quite a few different styles there. And again, when we go through doing some of the drive-throughs, and we'll show you some examples of the types of architecture. And again, that's what some people really want, the traditional architecture. Some people want the more kind of farmhouse vibe, and want little homesteads, which is wonderful. So I would say in this region, it is, by the way, just as an aside, to the east of Veliko Tarnovo, sort of, I'm going to just sort of highlight this kind of area. For some reason, this is cheaper than the left side, the west side. I don't particularly know the reasons why. It could be a little bit kind of out in the middle of nowhere. Stritsitsa is a big town. I'm not sure on all the amenities that you have there. I think that there are some English communities in this area as well. Please, if anybody knows any reason other or different to what I'm saying, please do comment, because we only know what we're told, don't we? And from the people that live in these areas. So if you're on a lower budget, you want to be looking north of the region. Really, really north if you want to be up near the Danube. Still some beautiful areas up here. There is still issues with properties in the left side of this region, and the main thing that's been really obvious this year is water supply. So I know now for a fact, in a lot of the villages around here and here, you are getting water only a couple of hours a day, or being turned on and off for, your limited supply. So it's something that's unfortunately getting more common. I hope the next year will provide more rainfall to help support these villages. There could well be political reasons, who knows. I know there was something going on recently. So just to make you aware, you're always paying for what you get for. Perhaps in these areas you've got, a too good to be true price. It could be because of the water supply. But again, it depends on what you want. It depends on what you want to be close to, and it depends what you want in terms of size, and it depends what you want to do with your land. So we would always, I have a whole list of questions. If anybody comes to us with a budget, I have a whole list of questions that says, right, what do you want, be near, etc., 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 and we will guide you to where you're going to have to be looking.
Okay, so I'll stop with the map, because I realise I'm just squiggling all over the place and it might be becoming very, very unclear. But I hope you can understand the breadth of the region, the difference between north, south, east, west, and there's no right or wrong. You have to work with your expectations about what you want. And some of these criteria, I think we've listed these before in older videos, but how close do you want to be to an airport? So for example, the city of Veliko Tarnovo is roughly 3 hours from every major airport. You're right in the middle. So you kind of got, the world's your oyster. It also means you're 3 to sometimes 5 hours away from the coast, depending where on the coast you want to be. So if you want to be close to a beach, it's not the region for you. It's the region that has hills, nature, the cultural capital, and I would say a lot of it's pure rural. A lot of Bulgaria is rural, particularly, lots of homesteaders. Doesn't mean you can't get that life. And other regions of Bulgaria, cheaper? Yes. I don't know the whole country, so we're just purely focusing on this region. What was I going to say? So you want to look at how close you are to an airport, if that's important to you, or public transport, closest to hardware stores if you're doing renovation projects. Access, in winter or all year round access, all these things. And again, in our buyer's guide, we talk about those sort of points to be asking when you're looking at properties. The other thing is, do you want to be close to other expat communities? Do you want to be completely in the middle of nowhere with no neighbours? So you really got to think hard about what you want out of the property and the location. And then, of course, you want to look about the actual house itself. Now, we always say you can always change your house, you can't change the location. Hence why we drive a lot of our content around the location. Because as you can see from the map, There are lots of villages to choose from, and it doesn't mean to say there's not an amazing village in the middle of a cheaper region, or it doesn't mean to say that there's not a really horrible village in the middle of an more expensive region. I'm just giving you a rough guide here. Now, when people talk about bad villages, it could be reputation. It could be either too many English, it could be too many gypsy communities. Now, hand on my heart, wherever we've lived, we've never had concerns with the gypsy community. Absolutely no problem at all. Never ever felt unsafe. I can't speak for the whole region, I can't speak for everybody's experiences, but we would hate people to rule out a village because there might be gypsies there. Gypsies are all over Bulgaria. So I just think you'd have to really kind of, if you're really sort of looking at an area, ask on Facebook forums of people that live in that area. They'll give you honest feedback around, hopefully, the amenities there, the shops, the services, the people that are there. Yes, I've quickly changed. No, I've been coming back and forth to this video, so it's another day. I forgot to add here, obviously with the red circled map that we've just looked in the north region, the idea of budgets compared to the south that I did previously with the yellow circles. So up to 10,000, if your budget is up to 10,000 euros, pounds, whatever, you're pretty much going to be renovation project in the north, probably further north or more east, and it might still be livable. You might have an old bathroom. You might, it might be possible, but I would say quite unlikely. There are still some properties for under 10 grand, but you are going to be getting what you expect to have for under 10 grand. So if you're looking if your budget's between 10 and 20, again, you're going to be open, that you're very likely to be having a renovation project or a very dated, roughly livable property, so one that needs work. If you're looking at a dated property but doesn't need work, 35 to 50 probably. A renovated home, 50, 70, 100k. And if you're looking at a really high spec property with a pool, 150 to 200. We've definitely sold properties for that value in the north, but we're talking high spec. People have really, really, really done a lovely, lovely home. So I hope that gives you an idea of the guide prices of the level of finish for the north of the region. And that's also not to say that you can't find a good gem out there, because perhaps there's a seller that's desperate to sell, and not from any negativity. It might be just because they've got to go home and they've got to leave the country, or any kind of reason. So don't rule out a property being too good to be true on a price. It obviously assess the location, but it could just be the situation of that seller. So final thoughts. Always remember, you could always change your house, not the location. If you're really stuck on whether to get a renovated property or one that requires work, do bear in mind that materials and labour, it's still expensive to renovate a property. We're going to be working on ours for 10 years. So get the most livable or most finished property that you can afford in the location that your heart and gut tells you want to be in. That's the really best, that's the best advice I can possibly give. So we're going to continue with this series, if you like, of exploring VT. As I said, we'll get some individual videos out on the road, locations, seeing the vistas, seeing the architecture, showing you everything we can. I will leave you with that today. I'm really sorry, and thank you if you've made it this far. Well done.